Hey everyone, it's Aaron St. Dennis and Jesse Moeller from the Mad Science Lab podcast here with a Week 11 Thursday Night Football recap. We had a frustrating one, I think. It had some real potential, but God, was it a nightmare. So the Ravens pulled it out 34-20 over the Bengals. The story of this one is injuries. I'm going to run through the stat lines here first, and then we'll get to the injuries because that's what everyone wants to talk about. But Lamar Jackson put up 28 fantasy points. He had 264 for 54 yards on the ground. Joe Burrow had 101 yards and one touchdown for 11 points before leaving the game and possibly the season. Jake Browning came in for 68 yards and one touchdown for 13 points. So a combined 24 points here for the two Bengals quarterbacks. So it could have been a good one. Running backs, we got Joe Mixon had 69 yards, rushing added in 31, and a touchdown receiving with 5 catches. Travion Williams had 2 carries for 20 yards. Gus Edwards, 62 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's on fire with the rushing touchdowns, 2 for 8 in the air. Keaton Mitchell was almost useless, 8 for 33 and 1 for 8 in the air. Moving on to the receivers, Chase had 2 for 12 and was completely useless up until the last 8 seconds of the game, where he caught a garbage time touchdown down by 30 points. That screwed me in at least one league, where I'm sitting there going, yes, this is awesome. I didn't hit the Burrow landmine. I didn't hit the Andrews one. I had the Ravens defense, who looked awesome, but nope. What do I have? I get a negative of my Ravens defense and a touchdown for Jamar Chase. So thank you there. Trent Irwin had 3 for 36. Tyler Boyd, 3 for 22. OBJ looked to be the best receiver on the field yesterday. As scary as that was, before leaving with a shoulder injury, I think in the third. Yeah. He had 4 for 116 for 16 and a half points. Nelson Aguilar had 1 for 37 and a touchdown that ended in a front flip. That was the coolest part of the whole thing. Zay Flowers had 1 carry for 7 yards and 3 catches for 43. Bateman had 1 catch for 10 yards and a touchdown. He's completely useless. Tight end, 4 for 49 from Tanner Hudson, 2 for 19 from Drew Sample, 2 for 23 from Mark Andrews before being done for the year. Charlie Kohler had 1 for 13. Isaiah Likely didn't catch either of his 2 targets. Both kickers, McPherson and Tucker, were okay. Tucker had 2 for 2 on field goals, 1 from 20, 1 from 40, and 4 for 4 on extra points. McPherson, 2 out of 3 on field goals, a 20-yarder, a 50-yarder, and 2 for 2 on extra points. Both defenses were not great. The late touchdown hurt the Ravens. They had 5 sacks. Bengals had 3 and a forced fumble. So, aside from any fantasy takeaways you want to discuss there, I don't really think there are. Gus Edwards, I guess, in his touchdown, he appears to be this year's Jamal Williams.
Yep.
The Ravens pass catchers seem to be a complete nightmare, but I think the important things we have to talk about, obviously, are Mark Andrews being done for the season and Joe Burrow potentially being out long term. What do you want to start with here?
I'll talk about the Ravens wide receivers. So Zay got screwed. He had like a 60-yard touchdown that got called back on Holy Hill and Rashad Bateman.
I know. Okay. So in the league where I got screwed by the late Chase touchdown, my starting quarterback is Lamar and my starting flex is Zay Flowers. So don't you tell me I didn't remember that. This game screwed me out of about 40 points. I think I'm up 20, but I should be up about 60 instead of 20.
Dude, it was brutal. Interestingly enough, from routes run perspective, Zay was on the field for all but 1 play. So Zay's the guy in that offense you want to trust moving forward, particularly without Andrews. Like, I get it. OBJ had some game again, but he injured himself once again. So injuries once again. Bateman is just useless, like you're talking about. So it's Zay. He's the one guy I want. And yeah, like we talked about Keaton Mitchell being an upside play, but realistically, he was never going to see goal line usage. And Gus Edwards is just very much a good running back, so he's going to be involved. So he's definitely the 1B, and you need him to hit big plays, which I hate making that bet with running backs because, like, even though they're super explosive, he's only getting a handful of touches. So it's not great for him on the Ravens. But yeah, Gus Edwards is fine. And Lamar, Lamar's Lamar. Lamar should have had a great game, but he's still good.
I think that's my main takeaway from this fantasy season. I've stopped putting any consideration into upside. Upside just means he hasn't done shit yet.
Well, I think it's if they have a high floor too on top of it, that's where it's like really comes in. But if it's guys like Mitchell, it's such a wide range of outcomes, right? Like it's like,
but these cases where analysts make the argument to start them based on upside, it's never that. It's he has absolutely no floor and has done almost nothing, but he has upside. So let's start him, and then it rarely works out. But
it's a little bit like they called him Devon Achane light. I'm like, no, he's not. Like he's nowhere near as good as Devon Achane as a player, and this was the problem with him. I'm like, and also Achane was already seeing more like carries and more like snaps before he got injured. Like there's a complete difference in these guys.
All right, let's get into the important parts. Any thoughts on either injury?
Yeah, it freaking blows. This Bengals offense is gonna take a massive hit. Like without Burrow, this chases like a mid-range wide receiver too now. You can't really play Boyd. Like this, Mixon's the one that's gonna be okay just because he's gonna get a heavy dose of volume, but like it really sucks, dude. And I know we in the comments someone said like AJ McCarron or whatever for the quarterback situation, but Jake Browning's not good. Like he's a significant debt for this offense. So he's a game manager. He doesn't have a strong arm. So you put those two things together, it's like Chad Pennington back in the day, except just a worse quarterback. So yeah, I'm definitely worried for the Bengals offense. And it just sucks because they were one of the better offenses in the NFL. And well, Mixon is basically James Conner, where he was thriving off of volume with an injured quarterback with the Cardinals last year. Like, I expect Mixon to be similar. He's just going to get him volume. He'll be fine. But, yeah.
Okay, so I went over to Deepak Chonia's Twitter here, and here's what we'll go for the injuries. He has Joe Burrow, multiple possibilities, but mechanism most strongly suggests TFCC tear.
It's a wrist injury, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Wrist injury. Lean heavily towards multi-week absence. Healing takes about 6 weeks. Would suspect return could be 4. That's not good. So he's out at probably a month. He may not be useful again for the fantasy season.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, video suggests severe high ankle sprain with a potential fracture. Averages 46 weeks if no fracture. Efficiency dip, blah, blah, blah. IR strongly possible. We now know that he's done for the year. Yep. So, I guess we got Lamar here. Data favors low performance impact, but elevated re-injury risk through week 12. Re-injury would escalate severity. If he avoids that, will likely be 100% by week 14 with no aggravation. OBJ video suggests an AC shoulder sprain. Most commonly would not cause productivity or availability dips. So we have not great in this game. I would say you are without Andrews for the rest of the season, and plan to not have Burrow for the rest of the fantasy season is what I'm gearing up for in a league where I have Burrow. So
yeah, like we just got to treat their offense differently now. Unfortunately, it sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. Now might be the time. This is easy. If you're in redraft and you have him, you're screwed. You're streaming. If you're in redraft superflex, you're really screwed unless you had a third QB. If this is dynasty, now's the time to go out and trade for him. If you're if you're a rebuilding team, go trade for him. If you're a contending team, go sell him for someone you wouldn't normally take. I don't know what you're going to do here. Who's somewhere where you're not, because you don't want to trade him for Sam Howell in Dynasty.
So like if you're a contending team and you have Burrow, like what I've been telling people to do is all the tier 2 quarterbacks. So whatever those tier 2 quarterbacks if it's Stroud, some people it's Lamar, some people it's Kyler. So,
See,
like in that range of players. You can
Lamar,
T-Law too. But like it's just T-Law sucks this year, so there's that. But you can flip him for one of those guys and still get.
He's in a weird spot because I don't think I'd want to take T-Law. If I have Lamar, I'm not giving Lamar up to get him. Mm-hmm. If I have Stroud, I don't think I want to make that deal. If I don't really want to give up Burrow for multiple years for Stroud. I don't know. He's in a no man's land for me. This is not what I like. And it's a lot easier, I think, for Andrews. If you're on a contender, trade him for somebody that's, like what'd you say, Laporta, McBride?
Yeah, I did a deal last night where I traded him straight up for Trey McBride. It sucks from the value perspective. You're going to lose value just because McBride has to hit basically what he's doing right now rest of the season and be a top 5 guy. But any one of those top 6 tight ends in Dynasty, I'm fine moving him for. I'm not doing it for fucking Kyle Pitts. I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Don't do that. But any one of those guys with McBride, Laporta, Kincaid.
I said Kelsey, Schultz in a second for him if you have a team and you could afford to give him up.
If you can, I saw someone. So I traded him for McBride straight up. The guy in that league also traded him straight up for DeAndre Swift, and we were just like, "What are you doing?" Jesus. So yeah, you can get Laporta for cheap. So go get Laporta. Not Laporta. Andrews. You can get Andrews for cheap. Go get Andrews and Burrow, and also the one guy is Jamar Chase. He's going to suffer, so like people are probably pissed. So you might be able to get Jamar Chase at a discount too. in Dynasty.
All right. Well, that concludes our Thursday night recap for Ravens and Bengals. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, the rest of week 11 goes a little smoother than that one. Take care, everyone.